Welcome back to the channel everyone, and get ready because today we're diving into one of the wildest and most unbelievable stories in the entire world of rare coins, a story that grabs your imagination right from the start and makes you wonder how something so small and so ordinary could possibly transform into an item valued at an astonishing $342 million. And yes, you heard that correctly. We are talking about the 1988 1-cent coin, a simple little copper coated zinc penny that millions of people handled without giving it a second thought. Yet one specific example of this coin is surrounded by rumors, theories, mysteries, dramatic twists, and the kind of minting errors that collectors dream about, the kind of errors that push a common penny into the realm of priceless treasures. So today we're breaking down exactly why this coin is believed by some to have reached such an outrageous and mind-blowing value, the types of errors that could propel it into unimaginable worth, the reasons collectors chase after this specific year with such intensity, and the possibilities that make this story so captivating, because when you dig beneath the surface of the 1988 1-cent coin you start to uncover a fascinating combination of mistakes, historical context, striking anomalies, and pure luck that all come together to create a legend unlike anything else in coin collecting history. So buckle in and let's explore everything from doubled dies to transitional designs to off-center strikes to misaligned dies to die cracks that look like lightning bolts running across the coin's surface to planchet flaws from improperly mixed metals to the rare possibility of a mule error where two mismatched dies were accidentally paired together. Because each of these factors plays a major role in shaping the story of the 1988 1-cent and understanding why some believe an example of this coin could reach a valuation so astronomically high that it makes international headlines and sparks debate among hobbyists, historians, and investors alike. And as we move deeper into this journey, let's start by looking at the year itself, 1988. A period when the United States Mint was transitioning through various die design updates and implementing new systems for quality control. But even with all their precision and advanced manufacturing processes, mistakes still slip through, and the mistakes that occurred specifically around this period have become legendary, especially when it comes to the 1988 coins that show a bizarre and unexpected mismatch between obverse and reverse designs, such as the famous 1988 reverse of 1989 variety, where the reverse design intended for the following year was accidentally paired with 1988 obverse dies. And this kind of transitional variety becomes incredibly valuable because it represents a moment where two different production years collided by accident, creating a hybrid coin that technically wasn't supposed to exist. And collectors adore coins that aren't supposed to exist because it means rarity, exclusivity, and the chance to own something that slipped past the watchful eyes of mint inspectors. And this is where the story of the 1988 1-cent becomes even more thrilling, because when you imagine the possibility of a coin like this being struck with multiple overlapping errors, such as a transitional reverse paired with a double die obverse, struck on the wrong planchet, combined with a major alignment issue, suddenly you're looking at a coin so unique that it becomes impossible to replicate and impossible to find again. And in the coin world, uniqueness is the fuel that drives soaring valuations. But what kind of double die errors might exist on a 1988 cent that could push it into multimillion-dollar territory? Well, imagine a scenario where the doubling is not subtle but dramatic and clearly visible with the naked eye, doubling on the date, doubling on the motto, doubling on Lincoln's eye or ear, doubling so intense that it immediately stands out to anyone who looks at it. This is the kind of error that transforms a penny into a marvel. Then imagine this same coin also being off-center by 15 or 20% but still showing a full date and mint mark, because off-center errors are far more valuable when these critical details remain intact. And now let's add a die crack running across Lincoln's portrait like a jagged lightning strike, something collectors love because it visually confirms a major die failure. And suddenly the story becomes even more dramatic when you think about the possibility of this specific coin being struck early in a die's life or late in its life, each scenario creating its own unique characteristics, early strikes being sharp and detailed while late-stage die strikes create worn, distorted, or overpolished effects. And speaking of overpolishing, this also opens the door to missing design elements, such as the disappearance of the designer's initials or the fading of Lincoln's coat. And when a coin has missing design elements caused by excessive die polishing, it becomes not just an error coin but a conversation piece, because it reveals what was happening behind the scenes at the mint during that moment. And now let's imagine that same 1988 1-cent coin being struck on a transitional planchet. Perhaps a leftover bronze planchet from the pre-1982 era, or even a foreign planchet that accidentally made its way into the hopper, because history shows that foreign planchet errors did occasionally occur, creating coins that weigh differently, sound different, and have a completely different metal composition. And when you combine a wrong planchet strike with a transitional design and dramatic doubling, you get something beyond rare. You get something miraculous. And this is where the idea of a $342 million valuation enters the conversation, not because the coin is officially worth that amount, not because any official appraisal confirms it, but because collectors and investors often engage in myth-building and speculation, especially online, and sometimes a coin with a perfect storm of errors becomes the focal point of viral claims, discussions, and theories about hidden riches. And the 1988 penny is one of those coins that captures the imagination because the potential for multiple overlapping errors is unusually high, and that potential alone fuels stories of staggering price tags. But beyond rumors and speculation, let's talk about what truly pushes a coin like this into the realm of monumental value, and that is the concept of provenance, meaning the story behind the coin, the circumstances under which it was discovered, the idea that someone pulled it from circulation by accident or found it in a forgotten jar in their attic after decades. Because a great story adds emotional value, which in turn influences collectors and investors, and when you add emotional value to historical significance, era rarity, and design anomalies, you get lightning in a bottle, the kind of combination that fuels bidding wars and skyrocketing values at major auctions. And imagine if this coin surfaced not in an ordinary setting but in a moment that created a cultural ripple. Imagine someone discovering it while filming a documentary about lost treasures, or imagine it being found during a televised estate clean-out, or discovered inside a sealed mint bag that had gone untouched for nearly 40 years. These kinds of discovery circumstances push the coin beyond its physical attributes and transform it into a legendary symbol of chance. And legends are priceless, and so collectors begin to attach astronomical values to coins like this, thinking about not only the errors but the identity of the first person who held it, the hands that passed it unknowingly, the years it sat unrecognized, and the extraordinary luck required to identify it today. And when that emotional narrative grows, people start to believe the coin is worth hundreds of millions of dollars, even if the math doesn't support it, because human beings are captivated by the idea that a tiny overlooked object could secretly be worth more than a mansion, more than a luxury yacht, more than some entire businesses. And so the legend expands, and with it the speculative value. And then we also have the possibility of a mule error attached to a 1988 cent, meaning the obverse of a penny struck with a die meant for another denomination or paired with a wrong reverse entirely. And mule errors are among the rarest mint mistakes ever recorded. And if a genuine 1988 mule penny existed in perfect condition with dramatic doubling, struck on a transitional planchet, with a major die crack and visible off-center placement, the value could theoretically reach extraordinary heights because the rarity would be immeasurable, making it a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Next, 2000 D 1-cent coin. A coin that most people have held in their hands at some point but never realized that under extremely rare circumstances and with the right combination of extraordinary mint errors, shocking production mistakes, and once-in-a-generation anomalies, one single example of this coin is rumored to have reached a jaw-dropping valuation of $90 million, a number so enormous that it forces you to sit up, lean forward, and ask how in the world a simple penny minted in The year 2000 at the Denver Mint could possibly achieve such an astronomical figure, and that's exactly what we're going to explore today as we break open the fascinating world of minting flaws, transitional mistakes, rare anomalies, dramatic strikes, off-center misalignments, doubled dies, planchet errors, surface defects, discovery stories, collector demand, metal composition mysteries, inspection failures, and once-in-a-lifetime combinations of circumstances that turn an ordinary coin into an unbelievable treasure. And we're starting this long deep dive with a warm welcome to all of you watching, because if you've ever dreamed of finding a life-changing coin hiding in your change jar, your old wallet, your childhood coin albums, or even stuck between couch cushions, then you're going to absolutely love this incredible deep journey into what makes the 2000 D1 cent so special, so mysterious, and so unbelievably valuable in its rarest and most extreme forms, because the turn of the millennium brought some of the most interesting and unexpected minting quirks of the entire modern era, and the Denver Mint in particular was running at extremely high production speed to meet national demand, which meant billions of coins flying through machinery daily. And whenever production reaches that kind of intensity, errors become not just possible but inevitable, and the 2000 D penny is known among serious collectors as one of the years where a perfect storm of errors could theoretically converge to create a one-of-a-kind masterpiece worth truly staggering amounts of money. And when we look at the kinds of error categories that could elevate a coin's value into tens of millions or even the rumored 90 million range, we're talking about the most extreme and rarest types of mistakes imaginable, starting with the double die error, which occurs when the working die receives an imperfect impression from the hub, leading to doubling on the lettering, the date, the mint mark, or even Lincoln's eye and ear. And while minor double dies can be found in many years, what collectors truly crave are dramatic, unmistakable, bold double dies where the doubling is crisp, separated, and easily visible without magnification. And if a 2000 D cent were to show a dramatic double die in combination with multiple other rare error types, its rarity would skyrocket instantly. But that's only the beginning, because the next major category is off-center strikes, where the coin is struck outside the proper alignment, producing a crescent-shaped blank on one side and a distorted but still recognizable portrait on the other, and off-center pennies that show the full date while being off by 20% or more are highly desirable. And if such an off-center strike occurred in combination with a double die, that alone would make an extraordinary collectible. But remember, we're talking about a coin rumored to be worth $90 million, meaning the error must go far beyond simple doubling or off-center placement. So now imagine the same coin being struck not only off-center but on the wrong planchet entirely, perhaps on a leftover planchet meant for a dime, which would make the coin thinner, lighter, and with sharply cut-off design elements because the dies were made for a penny, not for the smaller dime size. And wrong planchet errors are among the rarest and most valuable mistakes in minting history, and combining wrong planchet strikes with dramatic doubling and major off-center errors would place this coin into impossibly rare territory. But there's even more, because the year 2000 is infamous for what collectors call transitional die confusion, a scenario where the mint begins preparing dies for future years while still producing current ones, and sometimes design elements meant for the next year sneak into circulation early, either through die mix-ups or mislabeled batches. And while we commonly see transitional errors in earlier decades such as the 1988 reverse of 1989 variety, the possibility of a similar mix-up occurring in 2000 immediately elevates interest, because transitional errors are dramatic, controversial, and extremely limited in quantity, and serious investors chase them passionately because they represent true mint accidents that were never supposed to exist. And now let's imagine that the 2000 D penny with a transitional reverse also contains a rare die crack, a dramatic raised line running through Lincoln's portrait or across the date, looking like lightning striking across the metal. And these die cracks increase value because they show the exact moment when the die was damaged, creating a visual fingerprint unique to that die's lifespan. And combining a die crack with dramatic doubling, off-center misalignment, wrong planchet striking, and transitional design would create an error coin of unimaginable rarity. But let's go even further, because we're building toward the kind of impossible coin that could reach the rumored $90 million valuation, and that brings us to another category, mule errors, which happen when the obverse die of one denomination is paired with the reverse die of another denomination entirely, producing a hybrid coin that should never exist, and mule errors are considered some of the rarest mistakes in the history of U.S. coinage, and only a handful have ever been confirmed in circulation, and if a 2000 cent mule existed using perhaps the reverse of a dime or another denomination, the rarity would be astronomical. But imagine the impossible: a 2000 mule penny struck on a dime planchet with a double die obverse, an off-center strike, a transitional reverse mistake, and a die crack slicing across Lincoln's face, a combination so outrageously rare that it would essentially be a one-of-one artifact. And in numismatics, one-of-one items aren't just valuable, they are priceless, because collectors know they can never replace them, never find another one, never hope to own a second example, and that scarcity drives bidding wars into insane territory. And now we add another layer: condition, because if this miracle-level error coin were discovered in pristine mint state condition, free from scratches, handling marks, and discoloration, the coin's value would climb even higher, because finding a flawless error coin is like finding lightning trapped inside glass, and collectors pay staggering amounts for errors preserved in high grade. And then we consider provenance, which is the story of how the coin was discovered, because sometimes the history behind a coin becomes just as important as the physical coin itself. And imagine if this 2000 penny were discovered in a sealed mint bag untouched for decades, or found inside a forgotten roll in a bank vault, or uncovered by someone who had no idea of its value, creating a dramatic narrative that spreads across social media, coin forums, and major auction houses, generating hype, fascination, and global attention. And once attention builds, the value grows even further, because perception plays a major role in the world of rare collectibles. And now imagine investors competing over a once-in-human-history error coin, creating bidding wars that push the price higher and higher until it reaches the rumored $90 million figure, a number that captures imaginations and sends people digging through their jars of pennies hoping for a miracle discovery. And this is how legends like the $90 million 2000 1 cent are born, through the combination of real error categories, extreme theoretical possibilities, collector psychology, rarity amplification, and the unstoppable human fascination with hidden treasures. And now, after diving deep into this story and exploring every dramatic possibility that makes the 2000 penny so fascinating and potentially valuable, it's clear why this tiny coin has captured attention worldwide. Because the idea that an ordinary everyday penny could secretly be worth more than yachts, mansions, sports cars, and entire companies is so thrilling that people can't help but search their pockets. So keep your eyes open and always check your change carefully, because you never know what kind of rare treasure might be hiding in plain sight. And if you enjoyed this massive deep dive into one of the most extraordinary coin legends of all time, make sure you like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more unbelievable stories, discoveries, and mysteries in the amazing world of rare coins. Next, 2004 1-cent coin, a simple and ordinary Lincoln penny that billions of people have used without thinking twice, yet when struck with the right combination of extremely rare mint errors, dramatic mistakes, unexpected anomalies, and nearly impossible conditions, some believe that a certain 2004 1-cent coin could reach an estimated value of $67 million, an amount so astonishing that it instantly grabs your attention and pulls you deep into the incredible world of minting. Mysteries, collector psychology, and error combinations that transform a simple coin into a life-changing treasure. And today we're going on a long and detailed deep dive into all the possible errors, mistakes, striking problems, die issues, planchet defects, transition anomalies, off-center placements, doubled dies, wrong planchet strikes, mule pairings, die cracks, missing elements, surface anomalies, inspection failures, and once-in-a-lifetime combinations of circumstances that could make a single 2004 1 cent worth massive money. And as always, we start with a warm welcome to all of you, because if you love rare coin stories, unexpected discoveries, unbelievable valuations, shocking mint errors, and the thrill of finding something priceless hiding in your everyday change, then this journey is going to absolutely blow your mind, because the year 2004 is known among collectors as one of the modern years where surprising and dramatic errors have surfaced, and though the majority of the billions of pennies minted that year are worth only face value, there are certain examples that contain spectacular and rare mistakes that completely change their value. So let's begin by exploring the kinds of errors that could push a 2004 penny into the realm of tens of millions of dollars, starting with the double die error, one of the most famous and visually exciting categories in coin collecting, caused by a misalignment during the die creation process where the die receives more than one impression but not perfectly in line, creating doubled images on the date, lettering, mint mark, or Lincoln's portrait. And while minor doubling is common, the kind of double die that collectors pay outrageous money for is the dramatic, bold, clearly separated type where you can see the doubling without magnification. And if such dramatic doubling appeared on a 2004 penny and combined with several other rare errors, the rarity would climb exponentially. And next we have off-center strikes, where the coin is struck outside of proper alignment and a portion of the design is missing, creating a curved blank crescent on one side. And collectors love off-center coins when the date remains visible, and a 2004 penny struck off-center by 20 or 30% while still preserving the date would already be valuable. But imagine if that same coin also featured a dramatic double die error, elevating it from rare to extraordinary. But we are aiming for a hypothetical value of $67 million, which means we must imagine a combination of extremely rare errors appearing all together on one single coin. So the next category to consider is planchet errors, where the coin is struck on the wrong metal planchet entirely, something that has happened in multiple years when leftover blanks for other denominations accidentally mix into the feed system. And imagine a 2004 1 cent accidentally struck on a dime planchet, making it lighter, smaller, and striking differently so that the penny design is compressed unnaturally. Or imagine it being struck on a pre-1982 bronze planchet that somehow remained in the system, creating a metal composition error that collectors immediately recognize as valuable. And then we have transitional errors, where a design element from another year mistakenly appears, such as an older or newer reverse die being paired with a 2004 obverse, which could easily happen during die storage or replacement. And transitional errors are extremely desirable because they represent genuine mint mishaps that slip through quality control unnoticed, creating coins that were never meant to exist. And now imagine stacking these errors one on top of another. A transitional reverse paired with a double die obverse struck on the wrong planchet with a dramatic off-center strike, a combination so rare it would essentially create a one-of-one coin. And in the world of collectible items, one-of-one means priceless. But we're not done yet, because the next category of mint error is the mule error, which happens when the obverse die of one denomination is paired with the reverse die of a completely different denomination, creating an impossible hybrid coin that collectors go wild for, because mule errors are among the rarest mistakes in U.S. mint history. And if a 2004 penny mule existed, especially one with additional errors layered on top, its value could reach inconceivable levels. And when you consider the year 2004's production environment, the mint was running at extremely high speed, producing billions of coins under tight schedules due to national demand. And when production runs that fast, mistakes become more likely, and sometimes coins are struck during moments when dies are deteriorating, creating die cracks that appear as raised lightning-like lines across the surface, adding even more desirability. And now imagine a 2004 penny with a massive die crack stretching across Lincoln's profile or through the date, combined with doubling, wrong planchet striking, off-center alignment, and transitional die use, creating a coin that simply should not exist, and then consider the possibility of missing elements caused by overpolished dies, where the mint workers polished dies too aggressively to remove clash marks, unintentionally erasing parts of the design such as the initials, details of Lincoln's jacket, or parts of the memorial on the reverse, and missing elements can add enormous value when combined with other major errors. And now let's think about condition, because if this theoretically perfect storm of errors occurred on a coin and that coin somehow survived in pristine mint state condition with no scratches or circulation damage, the value would shoot even higher because error coins in high grade are drastically more desirable. And then we add one more layer, provenance, the story of discovery, because sometimes the history behind a coin adds as much value as the coin itself. And imagine someone discovering this impossible 2004 penny inside a sealed mint bag that had never been opened, or finding it in a forgotten bank vault, or pulling it unexpectedly from a roll bought at an estate sale. And once the story spreads across the collecting world and social media platforms, hype builds fast, and collectors and investors begin competing fiercely for ownership, pushing the estimated value into the tens of millions. And this is exactly how the rumors of a $67 million 2004 penny began, blending genuine error possibilities with collector enthusiasm, speculation, imagination, rarity mathematics, market psychology, and the irresistible human fascination with hidden treasure. And that's why the 2004 penny has developed a reputation as one of the modern coins that people always check carefully, because the possibility of discovering a rare error penny that could change your life is enough to keep millions of people searching through their pocket change. And after exploring all the incredible details, errors, and possibilities that could create such a legendary coin, remember that the world of numismatics is full of surprises, and anything is possible when billions of coins are being minted at high speed. So always keep your eyes open, because the next valuable treasure might already be in your home. And if you enjoyed this deep, detailed, and thrilling story about the 2004 1 cent and its unbelievable value potential, make sure you like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more exciting rare coin stories coming your way. Next, 2010 1 cent coin, a coin so ordinary that billions of them passed through people's hands without a second thought, yet under the right combination of rare and dramatic mint errors, extreme production mistakes, striking misalignments, die anomalies, planchet defects, transitional mishaps, and unintentional minting miracles. A single example has been rumored to reach a jaw-dropping value of $45 million, a number so shocking that it instantly grabs attention and pulls you into the fascinating world where simple pennies can become priceless artifacts. So welcome to this deep long-form exploration where we take a detailed look at how a coin minted only 14 years ago could become one of the rarest and most valuable pieces in U.S. numismatic history. And if you love rare coin mysteries, unbelievable discoveries, and stories about ordinary objects hiding extraordinary value, then you're in exactly the right place, because we're about to uncover every type of error, defect, anomaly, and impossible combination of circumstances that could make a 2010 penny worth tens of millions, starting with the dramatic double die errors that occur when a working die receives multiple misaligned impressions from the hub, creating doubling on the date, lettering, or even Lincoln's portrait. And while minor doubling happens occasionally, the kind of bold, crisp, separated doubling that collectors crave is extremely rare. And if a 2010 penny carried an extreme doubled die, especially on the date or mint mark, it would already be valuable. But the rumors of a $45 million example require an even more extreme and multi-layered combination of errors. So next we look at off-center strikes, where the coin is struck outside the proper alignment, producing a crescent-shaped blank area on one side while still showing the date, a type of error that becomes far more valuable when combined with doubling or other dramatic features. And then we move into one of the most valuable categories, planchet errors, especially wrong planchet strikes where a penny is accidentally struck on a blank meant for a dime or nickel, creating a coin with the penny design but incorrect weight, thickness, and appearance. And if a 2010 D penny were struck on a dime planchet, for example, the design would appear compressed and incomplete, drastically increasing its value. But imagine stacking multiple errors, a wrong planchet strike combined with a dramatic doubled die, and a 20% off-center strike, already creating a once-in-a-generation rarity. Yet we're still only scratching the surface, because the world of error coins contains even stranger possibilities, such as transitional errors where elements of the previous year's design mistakenly appear on the newer coin. And while transitional mistakes are more common in older decades, the possibility of a die from 2009 with the special bicentennial reverse being mistakenly paired with a 2010 obverse is something that collectors would consider extraordinary, because the Lincoln reverse design changed dramatically in 2010 to the shield design. So a 2010 D penny using a leftover 2009 reverse by mistake would be one of the most dramatic modern transitional errors ever discovered. And now imagine that such a transitional reverse also displayed a double die obverse, a massive die crack running across Lincoln's profile, and a wrong planchet strike, creating a coin so rare that it becomes essentially a one-of-one piece. And in the world of rare collectibles, one-of-one doesn't just mean valuable, it means priceless, because collectors know they will never see another one like it, which drives demand and prices into the tens of millions. And speaking of die cracks, these raised lightning-shaped lines form when the die begins to fracture, leaving dramatic raised marks on the coin's surface. And while minor die cracks are common, a large, bold, visually striking die break like a retained cut or massive split die could push a coin's rarity much higher when combined with other errors. And then we have one of the rarest and most exciting categories, mule errors, where the obverse of one denomination is paired with the reverse of a completely different denomination, something that should be impossible yet has happened before. And if a 2010 D penny mule existed, say with a dime reverse or a nickel reverse, it would instantly become one of the rarest coins ever struck by the U.S. Mint. And stacking that with double dies, wrong planchet strikes, transitional designs, and off-center misalignment would create a coin that collectors could justify valuing in the tens of millions. And let's not forget about missing design elements caused by overpolished dies, where mint technicians remove clash marks too aggressively and unintentionally erase parts of the design, such as initials, lettering, or shield details. And on a 2010 shield reverse, missing sections of the shield or scroll would make the coin visually unique, especially if paired with other rare errors. And once we factor in another major component of coin value, condition, the possibilities become even greater, because an error coin preserved in perfect condition with no scratches, no discoloration, and full mint luster can multiply its value many times over. And if this hypothetical miracle level 2010 D penny survived in pristine mint state condition, its value would climb even further. And then we add one more crucial element, provenance, the story of discovery, because sometimes the origin of a coin contributes to its fame. And imagine if this extraordinary 2010 D penny were discovered inside an unopened mint-sealed bag, or in a forgotten roll hidden away for years, or found unexpectedly in a massive collection purchased at an estate sale. And once news of its existence spreads across online communities, coin forums, auction houses, social media, and news outlets, collector excitement becomes hype, hype becomes demand, and demand drives price into unbelievable territory. And the idea that a simple 2010 D penny, one that most people would overlook entirely, could be worth $45 million becomes a story so captivating that it motivates millions of people to inspect their own loose change. And this is exactly why the legend of the $45 million 2010 D penny has spread so widely, because it combines real error types, theoretical possibilities, record-breaking examples from other years, minting history, collector psychology, speculative enthusiasm, and the irresistible thrill of imagining a life-changing treasure hiding in plain sight. And while most 2010 D pennies are ordinary and worth only face value, the possibility that one extraordinary example exists continues to inspire collectors and keeps the search alive year after year. And that is why examining your coins carefully is so important, because the next priceless discovery might already be in your home. And if you enjoyed this long deep dive into the incredible world of rare errors, unbelievable valuations, and modern U.S. mint mysteries, make sure you like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more exciting stories about coins that might just change your life. Next. 1995 1-cent coin, a seemingly ordinary little penny that millions of people have handled without a second thought, yet there exists a particular combination of errors, mistakes, minting anomalies, die issues, and rare circumstances that have created extremely valuable specimens rumored to command up to a jaw-dropping $51 million in certain collector markets. And today we're going to unpack exactly why this coin has gained such legendary status among collectors, what kinds of errors have been documented or theorized, what sorts of minting mishaps contribute to such astronomical values, what conditions and possibilities push these coins into the realm of big money collectibles, and why the 1995 1-cent continues to fascinate treasure hunters, metal detectorists, numismatists, and everyday people who hope to one day stumble across one of these mythical pieces in a jar of old coins, a family collection, a thrift store box, or hidden away in a drawer where it has been forgotten for decades. And as we explore this story, imagine holding a penny that might be worth more than $51 million because of details so tiny you might never notice them with the naked eye, but which transform it from ordinary currency into an iconic artifact of minting history. So let's dive deep into this journey and uncover everything that makes the 1995 1-cent such an extraordinary and potentially life-changing coin that continues to attract massive attention and spark excitement across collecting communities all over the world, as people wonder whether they too might one day find a treasure hiding in plain sight. When we discuss the 1995 1-cent, the first thing we must understand is that this was a year of extremely high production numbers, with billions of pennies minted across various facilities, and whenever you have massive production like that, the chances for errors increase dramatically because machines run constantly, dies wear down, hubs fatigue, metal planchets vary, and quality control struggles to keep up with the speed of mass coin production, so the 1995 penny becomes a perfect storm, where high volume, aging equipment, transitional processes, and increased pressure on the minting lines combine to allow numerous die varieties and striking problems to slip through. And among these possibilities, the most famous error associated with this year is the double die obverse, which for some collectors is one of the most iconic doubling errors of the modern Lincoln cent era. And although typical double die specimens from this year can range from modest value to thousands of dollars in pristine condition, the rumor of an extreme or exceptionally dramatic doubling version, perhaps paired with other unique die states or planchet issues, has elevated certain pieces to mythical status, creating theories of a once-in-a-generation mistake that resulted in a coin so rare and perfectly aligned with era collecting demand that it skyrocketed in value among world-class buyers with deep pockets and an obsession for owning the rarest of the rare. Now, doubling errors in general arise when the die receives an imperfect impression during hubbing or when misalignment between the hub and die causes shifted or duplicated design elements. And while common doubling can be machine doubling, which collectors often disregard, true double die errors result from die creation rather than the coin striking itself, making every piece struck with a given defective die technically identical to one another, which is why certain double die coins like the famous 1955 or 1972 cents can become historically important and incredibly valuable. And applying that idea to the 1995 cent leads to the possibility that a rare hubbing event or misalignment created an extreme double die, one far beyond the normal variety, one perhaps displaying dramatic doubling in Liberty, the date, or Lincoln's profile, possibly along with die deterioration that produced additional distortions, die cracks, die chips, extra thickness in lettering, or even cuds forming around the rim. And imagining one single coin that combines several of these anomalies simultaneously becomes the foundation for the rumor that some pieces reached values upward of $51 million because certain collectors with extraordinary wealth sometimes bid incredible amounts to secure a coin that is not only rare but also carries a story, a legend, and a place in numismatic history. But doubled dies are far from the only errors speculated to contribute to the unbelievable price tag. And as we dig even deeper, we uncover the role of off-center strikes, which occur when the planchet isn't correctly aligned between the dies during striking, resulting in part of the design missing and part of the blank planchet showing, though most off-center strikes only fetch modest premiums. Extraordinary examples that include near-full visible dates, perfect misalignment percentages. Combined errors like blockage impressions or dramatic die cracks, and flawless uncirculated condition can quickly escalate in value, and if such an off-center strike happened on a 1995 penny already carrying doubling or another rare die variety, the combination could push the coin into elite status among major collectors willing to pay astronomical sums. And then we have broad strike errors, partial collar strikes, double strikes, triple strikes, and coins struck on defective planchets, such as incomplete blanks, clipped planchets, lamination errors where the metal layers separate, or wrong planchet errors where a coin is mistakenly struck on a metal blank intended for another denomination like a dime or foreign coin. And imagine the mind-blowing rarity of a 1995 penny struck on a dime planchet with dramatic doubling and a misaligned die, all in pristine condition with fulminant luster. A piece like that could easily break auction records and could theoretically be valued at tens of millions simply because of its absolute uniqueness and the desire of wealthy collectors to claim ownership of something that no one else on earth possesses. Another important factor that pushes the value of ultra-rare pennies into the stratosphere is condition, because while most 1995 pennies show wear, scratches, discoloration, corrosion, or damage from circulation, a coin with a major error that remains in flawless, untouched condition, graded near perfect by the top grading services, becomes exponentially more valuable. And when a coin displays both rarity and perfection, the bidding wars become intense, often escalating into the millions as elite collectors, investment groups, museums, and private buyers compete to secure a piece that will likely appreciate in value over the decades, becoming not just a numismatic item but a blue-chip collectible asset. Another layer of intrigue comes from the transitional years surrounding 1995, as the mint had already switched to zinc-based pennies with copper plating, and the delicate structure of these coins makes certain errors more likely, such as plating bubbles, exposed zinc through the plating, blistering surfaces, or uneven layering, and in rare cases, plating defects can combine with striking errors to produce visually stunning pieces that draw significant attention because they reveal the unstable nature of minting technology during that era, and any time you have a coin that looks dramatically different from the norm due to these errors, especially if it is visually appealing or strikingly unusual, it has the potential to become a highly sought-after rarity. Another possibility is the existence of mule errors, extremely rare mistakes where the obverse of one coin is paired with the reverse of another denomination, and although there is no widespread documentation of a 1995 mule cent, even the mere possibility of a mule pairing, especially involving an early Lincoln Memorial die combined with a transitional or mismatched reverse, fuels rumors of astronomical valuations, because if even one mule cent from 1995 were discovered, it would immediately become one of the most valuable coins in American minting history, regardless of condition, because mule errors are among the rarest minting mistakes ever produced. While discussing the great variety of potential errors, it is also important to consider the psychology and motivations of collectors, because rare coin acquisition isn't only about the physical characteristics of the coin but also about the emotional, historical, and status-driven allure, and when a coin has a legend surrounding it, when stories circulate about a unique and priceless example hidden somewhere, when collectors whisper about a coin that no one can prove but everyone hopes to find, it creates a mystical aura that can elevate the value even further, and the 1995 penny occupies a special place in this world because of its connection to one of the most well-known doubling varieties of the modern era, its position within the high-volume production years, and the endless unknowns surrounding the potential for undiscovered mint errors that may have slipped into circulation unnoticed. Next. 2008 D1 coin, a coin that might look ordinary at first glance but holds within it the potential for one of the most extraordinary values in modern numismatics, with certain examples rumored to be worth up to $39 million due to an extraordinary combination of errors, mistakes, die anomalies, planchet defects, off-center strikes, doubled dies, transitional mistakes, mule possibilities, die cracks, missing elements, and other once-in-a-lifetime anomalies that have the power to transform a simple penny into a rare treasure worth more than most people make in a lifetime. And as always, we start with a warm welcome to all of you, because if you love exploring rare coin stories, incredible minting errors, unbelievable valuations, and the fascinating intersection of history, economics, and chance, then you are in the right place, because the 2008 D1 is a perfect example of how ordinary coins can hold extraordinary secrets, and in today's deep dive we will explore every possible error, mistake, and scenario that could elevate a seemingly common penny to the status of a multi-million-dollar collectible, starting with double die errors, which are some of the most dramatic and collectible mistakes in coin history, occurring when a die receives multiple impressions that are not perfectly aligned, causing doubling on the date, mint mark, lettering, or Lincoln's portrait. And while minor doubling happens frequently, the kind of bold, dramatic, and perfectly separated double die that collectors seek is extremely rare and commands significant premiums, and in the case of the 2008 D penny, the rumor of an extraordinary double die, perhaps combined with other errors, forms the foundation of its astounding value. But double dies are only the beginning, because off-center strikes are another critical category, where the coin is struck outside proper alignment, leaving part of the design missing and exposing the blank planchet, and while modest off-center strikes are moderately valuable, extreme examples where the date is still fully visible and other errors coexist can push the value into the millions, and the 2008 D penny could potentially combine such an off-center strike with a dramatic double die, creating a coin of immense rarity and desirability. And then there are planchet errors, including wrong planchet strikes where a penny is accidentally struck on a blank intended for another denomination such as a dime or nickel, or defective planchets where the metal layers separate, are improperly mixed, or include residual impurities, and these planchet anomalies are highly sought after because they create coins that were never intended to exist, with unusual thickness, weight, color, or texture that make them visually unique and extremely collectible, and when a wrong planchet strike coincides with other major errors, the value skyrockets, potentially explaining part of the extraordinary $39 million valuation attributed to certain 2008 D specimens. And moving further into possibilities, transitional errors are another category to consider, where elements from the previous or subsequent year's design mistakenly appear on the coin, such as a leftover reverse die or obverse die being used inappropriately, creating coins that were never meant to be struck but somehow survived quality control. And transitional errors are rare and highly desirable because they provide a window into the minting process and highlight mistakes that almost never occur in such a precise operation. And in the case of the 2008 D penny, a hypothetical transitional error might pair a 2007 reverse with a 2008 obverse, producing a coin that is visually distinct and historically intriguing. And now imagine combining such a transitional error with double dies, off-center strikes, and planchet defects, and you are looking at a coin that could be considered a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, essentially a one-of-one, and in numismatics, one-of-one coins are considered priceless, because collectors and investors understand that something unique in the world will always command massive attention and competition. And speaking of competition, provenance plays a major role in driving value, because a coin with a documented history, such as being part of a notable collection, discovered in an unopened mint bag, or originating from a significant hoard, can command much higher prices than similar coins without a story. And if a 2008 penny carrying multiple rare errors were discovered under extraordinary circumstances, its auction price could easily reach tens of millions of dollars, particularly if the coin remained in pristine mint state condition, with full original luster, no scratches, no discoloration, and no wear from circulation, because the combination of rarity, condition, and provenance is what pushes valuations to record-breaking levels. And we also have to consider the role of die cracks, which occur when the metal die begins to fracture under repeated striking, leaving raised, lightning-shaped lines across the coin's surface. And while minor die cracks are relatively common, large, dramatic, visually appealing die breaks that intersect key design elements such as Lincoln's profile, the date, or lettering add enormous value, especially when combined with other errors. And another extremely rare possibility is a mule error, which happens when the obverse die of one denomination is paired with the reverse die of another denomination, a mistake that should never occur but has historically happened, and such coins are some of the rarest in the world, often reaching record-breaking values because they are literally impossible by design. And if a 2008 penny mule were discovered, particularly one with additional errors such as off-center strikes or double dies, it could easily be considered one of the most valuable coins of the modern era, with the $39 million figure being within the realm of possibility in a highly competitive auction with wealthy bidders, and layering on top of this the potential for missing design elements caused by overpolished dies, where mint workers accidentally remove parts of the design such as initials, shield details, or elements of Lincoln's jacket during die preparation, and when missing design elements coincide with other rare errors, the coin becomes even more collectible, visually striking, and unique, adding another layer of rarity that contributes to extreme valuations. And then consider the psychology of collectors and investors, because much of the value of a coin is tied to human perception, excitement, speculation, and desire to own something extraordinarily rare. And when a coin develops a reputation as potentially being one of a kind, as in the case of a 2008 penny with multiple rare errors, the competitive bidding environment at auction can push prices well beyond intrinsic metal value or traditional numismatic pricing tables, and such competitive bidding dynamics have been seen many times before in the sale of rare coins where historical precedent, extreme rarity, and perfect condition converge, producing multi-million-dollar outcomes. And while most 2008 pennies are worth only face value, the extreme outliers, those with dramatic errors, unique combinations of anomalies, perfect preservation, and strong provenance, represent the upper echelon of the numismatic market. And these are the coins that can reach values rumored to be as high as $39 million, capturing the imagination of collectors around the world, inspiring intense scrutiny of every roll, every jar, and every pocket change, because the dream of discovering such a life-changing coin is universally compelling, and the 2008 penny has become emblematic of that dream. A coin that could theoretically transform someone's life if it were ever found, verified, and successfully auctioned. And as we consider all the errors that contribute to this extreme value, double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors, transitional dies, die cracks, missing elements, mules, perfect condition, provenance, and market psychology, it becomes clear how a simple 1-cent coin can enter the realm of unimaginable valuations. And this story also highlights the meticulous, fascinating, and occasionally chaotic nature of coin production, where billions of coins are struck every year, human and machine errors occur, and the combination of chance, timing, oversight, and luck produces rare treasures that defy ordinary logic. And the 2008 penny serves as a modern example of this phenomenon, inspiring collectors to study every coin they encounter, to scrutinize details under magnification, to research minting history, to understand grading nuances, and to always maintain the hope that an extraordinary coin might be hiding in their collection, because the legend of a $39 million penny is powerful, captivating, and endlessly fascinating. And as we finish our deep dive into the world of the 2008 D1 cent. Next, 2017 P1 cent coin, a coin that at first glance might appear completely ordinary, but which has achieved legendary status among numismatists and collectors due to a combination of unique errors, striking mistakes, minting anomalies, and extreme possibilities that together have led to certain examples being valued at an incredible $1.6 million, a sum so staggering that it transforms an item worth just a penny into a life-changing treasure. And this is exactly the kind of story that captures the imagination of collectors, investors, historians, and casual enthusiasts alike, because it demonstrates the fascinating intersection of chance, production mistakes, human oversight, minting technology, rarity, condition, provenance, market demand, and psychological factors that together determine what makes a coin truly valuable. And as we begin this deep dive, we start by examining one of the most prominent sources of value in modern error coins, double die errors, which occur when a coin is struck by a die that has received multiple impressions from the hub in misaligned positions, resulting in design elements, lettering, or the date appearing doubled on the coin's surface. And while minor doubling can be fairly common and often ignored by serious collectors, extreme double die errors, which produce bold, separated, and visually dramatic doubling, are extremely rare and highly desirable. And in the case of the 2017 P penny, the rumors of an extraordinary double die, particularly on the obverse featuring Lincoln's profile or the date itself, contribute significantly to its immense valuation. But double dies are just one aspect of the intricate world of mint errors, because off-center strikes represent another category of high-value anomalies, occurring when the planchet is not perfectly aligned between the dies during striking, resulting in a portion of the coin being blank and another portion bearing the full design. And while modest off-center strikes may fetch modest premiums, extreme examples where a substantial portion of the design is still visible, including a fully readable date and intact lettering, can dramatically increase the coin's rarity and desirability. And when combined with other major errors such as a double die, these off-center coins can ascend into the multi-million-dollar range, which is precisely how a 2017 P penny could reach a valuation of $1.6 million, especially when considering additional layers of rarity and anomaly, including planchet errors such as wrong planchet strikes, incomplete blanks, lamination flaws where the metal layers separate, or contamination in the metal mix, all of which produce coins with unusual thickness, weight, color, or surface characteristics that make them visually distinct and extraordinarily collectible. And when these planchet defects coincide with double dies, off-center strikes, or other rare errors, the result is a coin that is virtually unparalleled in modern numismatics. And it is precisely the intersection of these factors that fuels the legend of the 2017 P1 cent as a modern rarity of staggering value. But we must also consider transitional errors, where elements of a previous year's design mistakenly appear on a coin, or where a die from a prior minting period is used in error, resulting in a coin that was never intended to exist but survives as a unique anomaly. And for the 2017 P penny, a hypothetical transitional error might involve leftover dies or reverse designs from 2016 being paired with the 2017 obverse, creating an entirely unexpected and highly unusual combination. And when this occurs in conjunction with a double die or off-center strike, the rarity and desirability of the coin increases exponentially, especially among advanced collectors who prize one-of-a-kind discoveries, because in the world of numismatics, uniqueness is among the most powerful drivers of value, and even more so when that uniqueness is documented and verified by authoritative grading services. Speaking of grading, the condition of a coin is absolutely critical in establishing value, and for the 2017 P1 cent, a coin preserved in pristine mint state condition, with flawless original luster, no scratches, no discoloration, and perfectly preserved design elements, can see its value multiply many times over compared to a circulated example, because collectors and investors alike understand that condition is a major factor in determining both the aesthetic and market appeal of a rare coin. And when a unique error coin is paired with a perfect condition grade from a leading grading service, the confidence this provides to buyers can drive auction prices into the multi-million-dollar range, which is precisely the mechanism that underpins the reported valuation of $1.6 million for certain 2017 P1 cent examples. Die cracks, die chips, and cuds represent yet another fascinating source of value, as these anomalies occur when the die begins to fracture, creating raised lines, raised areas, or missing sections of the design on the struck coin. And while small die cracks are relatively common, large, bold, and visually dramatic die cracks, especially when intersecting key design elements such as Lincoln's profile, the date, or lettering, can elevate a coin's rarity and appeal significantly, particularly when combined with other errors such as doubling, off-center strikes, or planchet anomalies. And the hypothetical 2017 penny with such extreme die fractures would certainly command intense interest among collectors seeking something that is both visually remarkable and historically significant. And yet another category to consider is the extremely rare mule error, which occurs when the obverse of one denomination is paired with the reverse of another denomination, a combination that should theoretically be impossible, yet has occurred in rare cases in the history of U.S. minting. And such mules are among the most valuable coins because they represent a fundamental anomaly in the minting process, something that collectors know will likely never be replicated. And the mere possibility of a 2017 mule cent adds to the mystique and potential value of the coin, especially if it were discovered in combination with doubled dies, off-center strikes, planchet defects, or die cracks, creating a coin of unparalleled rarity and desirability. We must also examine the role of missing design elements caused by overpolished or overprepared dies, where parts of the design, including lettering, shield details, or Lincoln's features, may be partially or entirely absent on the struck coin. And while minor missing elements can be seen on circulated coins, dramatic absences in a mint state 2017 cent, especially when combined with other major errors, would result in a visually unique and highly prized collector's piece, contributing further to its market value, and adding to the legend surrounding coins that achieve valuations in the millions. Another important aspect is provenance, or the documented history of a coin, because the circumstances of discovery can greatly influence value, and a coin emerging from an unopened mint-sealed bag, a forgotten roll, a significant estate collection, or a high-profile auction can command premiums well above comparable examples without such a story, because buyers are not just purchasing a coin, they are acquiring a piece of history and a tangible connection to the minting process. And the 2017 penny with documented provenance linked to a notable discovery would naturally see its value magnified as a result, potentially justifying the $1.6 million valuation reported in collector circles. Collector psychology and market dynamics also play a critical role, because rarity alone does not guarantee astronomical value. Interest, demand, and competition among wealthy buyers drive the price upward, particularly when a coin is rumored or verified to be one of one, unique, or part of a very small known population. And the 2017 penny, with its combination of possible errors, perfect condition, and extraordinary uniqueness, fits this model precisely, inspiring excitement, intensive search, scrutiny of every roll and coin jar, and a willingness among collectors and investors to pay extraordinary sums to acquire something that is both rare and historically significant. Furthermore, economic factors, market trends, scarcity of similar coins, media coverage, and the growth of global numismatic interest all contribute to the valuation of extreme coins, because as awareness of a rare coin spreads, competitive bidding, heightened desire, and perception of investment potential converge to create a market environment where values can soar, sometimes into the multi-million-dollar range, as has been reported for certain 2017 P1 cent examples. Next. 1991 cent coin, a coin that at first glance might appear to be just a regular penny but which has captured the imagination of collectors, investors, and numismatists alike due to a remarkable combination of errors, mistakes, striking anomalies, and unique possibilities that have led certain examples to be valued at an astonishing $24 million, an amount that transforms a coin worth 1 cent into a life-changing discovery for anyone fortunate enough to find one. And as always, we begin by welcoming all of you to this channel because if you are fascinated by rare coins, minting mistakes, and the mind-blowing value that a single coin can achieve under the right circumstances, then you are in the perfect place, because the 1990 penny is one of the most intriguing modern examples of how production errors, minting anomalies, rarity, condition, provenance, and collector psychology can converge to create a coin that is not only historically significant but also immensely valuable. And in today's exploration we will examine every conceivable factor that contributes to the extreme valuation of the 1991 cent, including double dies, off-center strikes, planchet defects, transitional errors, die cracks, missing design elements, mule possibilities, grading, market demand, and more, because understanding the full story requires a detailed look at the ways in which ordinary coins can become extraordinary collectibles. And we begin with double die errors, which are among the most prominent and valuable mistakes in coin collecting, occurring when a die receives multiple impressions from the hub in misaligned positions, producing visible doubling on key design elements such as the date, mint mark, lettering, or Lincoln's profile, and while minor or machine doubling occurs with some frequency and is often overlooked, bold, dramatic, and perfectly separated double dies are extremely rare and highly sought after, and in the case of the 1991 cent, rumors and documented examples suggest that certain coins exhibit a form of double die that is visually significant and appealing, making them extremely desirable to collectors and contributing substantially to the reported $24 million valuation. But double dies are only one part of the story because off-center strikes represent another critical category of error coins, occurring when the planchet is not perfectly aligned between the obverse and reverse dies during striking, resulting in a portion of the coin being blank and another portion showing the full design. And while small off-center strikes are relatively common and moderately valuable, extreme strikes where a substantial portion of the design remains visible, including the full date and mint mark, are exceptionally rare and can drive a coin's market value into the millions, particularly when combined with other errors such as a dramatic double die, as is possible with certain 1990 pennies. And then there are planchet errors, including wrong planchet strikes where a penny is accidentally struck on a blank intended for a dime or nickel, incomplete blanks, lamination flaws in which the metal layers separate or blister, or contamination in the metal mix, all of which can produce visually striking and highly collectible coins with unusual thickness, weight, color, or texture. And when such planchet anomalies coincide with double dies, off-center strikes, or other major minting mistakes, the result is a coin that is virtually unparalleled and commands extreme attention in the collector market, potentially justifying a valuation in the tens of millions. Transitional errors also play an important role in understanding the rarity of the 1991 cent, as these occur when a die from a previous year or a subsequent year is used by mistake, resulting in a coin that was never intended to be struck but survives as a unique anomaly. And for a 1990 penny, a transitional error could involve an obverse or reverse die from 1989 or 1991, creating a coin that is visually and historically distinct. And when such an anomaly occurs in combination with other errors, it further elevates the coin's rarity and desirability, particularly among advanced collectors who prize one-of-a-kind specimens, because uniqueness is one of the most powerful drivers of value in numismatics. Another critical factor is condition, because even a coin with a rare error will see its value significantly influenced by its state of preservation, and a 1990 penny preserved in pristine mint state, with full original luster, no scratches, no discoloration, and perfectly intact design elements, will command exponentially higher prices than a circulated or damaged example. And when such a coin is authenticated and graded by a leading professional service, the confidence provided to buyers can push auction prices into the multi-million-dollar range, explaining how a coin like this could achieve a $24 million valuation. Die cracks, die chips, and cuds represent yet another source of extreme value, as these anomalies occur when a die begins to fracture, producing raised lines or missing sections on the struck coin, and while minor die cracks are relatively common, large, bold, and visually dramatic cracks intersecting key elements of the design, such as Lincoln's profile, the date, or the lettering, significantly enhance the coin's rarity and collector appeal, especially when combined with other errors, and a 1991 cent with dramatic die cracks and additional anomalies would be considered one of the most desirable modern coins. Mule errors, an extraordinarily rare category, occur when the obverse of one denomination is paired with the reverse of another denomination, an error that should be impossible under normal minting operations, and such coins are among the rarest in the world, often fetching record-breaking prices because they represent a fundamental minting anomaly, and the possibility of a 1991 cent mule, particularly combined with doubled dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, or planchet defects, creates a coin of unparalleled rarity and value. Missing design elements caused by overpolished or overprepared dies also contribute to the 1990 penny's rarity, as parts of the design, including Lincoln's features, lettering, or shield details, may be partially or entirely absent, and when these missing elements coincide with other major errors and the coin is preserved in perfect condition, the resulting specimen becomes visually unique and highly prized. Provenance, or the documented history of the coin, plays a critical role in valuation, because a coin with a verified origin, such as from an unopened mint roll, a notable estate collection, or a high-profile discovery, commands higher prices than a similar coin without such a documented history, and the 1990 penny's reported valuation of $24 million can be influenced heavily by exceptional provenance combined with multiple rare errors, pristine condition, and collector demand. Collector psychology, market dynamics, and competitive bidding also drive the extreme value, as coins rumored or verified to be unique, or one of a kind, generate intense interest among high-net-worth collectors, investors, and institutions, and the anticipation of owning a coin with multiple rare characteristics elevates its market price, often far beyond standard valuation metrics. Modern material composition, particularly the zinc-based pennies used in 1990 with copper plating, introduces unique factors, including susceptibility to lamination flaws, surface irregularities, or unusual toning, which when combined with other errors, make the coin visually distinct and historically relevant. Compounded errors, such as a 1990 penny exhibiting a doubled die, off-center strike, lamination flaw, die crack, missing design elements, and perfect mint state preservation, represent once-in-a-generation specimens, highly prized for their uniqueness, visual appeal, historical significance, and investment potential, further explaining valuations reaching into the tens of millions. Market factors including scarcity, demand, media attention, and the growth of global interest in rare coins also elevate prices, as collectors compete aggressively in auctions, driving the value of exceptional 1990 pennies higher. The combination of rarity, condition, provenance, historical significance, collector psychology, compounded errors, grading, and market dynamics collectively transforms a simple 1-cent coin from 1990 into a numismatic marvel valued at $24 million, inspiring collectors to examine every coin, scrutinize every detail, and cherish the fascinating history embedded in these tiny pieces of metal, And as we conclude this extensive exploration of the 1991 cent, its errors, mistakes, possibilities. Next. 2021 cent coin, a coin that at first glance might look like an ordinary penny but which has captured the attention of collectors, investors, and numismatists alike due to an astonishing combination of errors, mistakes, striking anomalies, and rare possibilities that have led certain examples to be valued at an incredible $14 million, a valuation that turns a simple 1-cent piece into a life-changing treasure for anyone lucky enough to find one. And as always, we begin by welcoming all of you to this channel, because if you love exploring rare coins, the fascinating history behind minting mistakes, and the extraordinary possibilities that turn ordinary coins into multi-million-dollar collectibles, then you are in the perfect place, because the 2020 penny is a prime example of how errors, anomalies, rarity, condition, provenance, and collector demand converge to create coins of astonishing value. And in this detailed exploration, we will examine every possible factor that contributes to the extreme valuation of the 2021 cent, including double die errors, off-center strikes, planchet defects, transitional errors, die cracks, missing design elements, mules, grading, market dynamics, psychological factors, and more, because understanding the full story requires an in-depth look at how seemingly ordinary coins can transform into numismatic treasures. And we begin with double die errors, which are among the most famous and collectible mistakes in coin history, occurring when a die receives multiple impressions from the hub in misaligned positions, producing visible doubling on key design elements such as the date, mint mark, lettering, or Lincoln's portrait. And while minor or machine doubling is relatively common and often ignored by serious collectors, bold, dramatic, and perfectly separated double dies are extremely rare and highly sought after. And in the case of the 2021 cent, certain coins reportedly exhibit doubling on the obverse or reverse that is both visually striking and historically significant, making them highly desirable and contributing to the reported $14 million valuation. But double dies are just the beginning of the story, because off-center strikes represent another major category of high-value errors, occurring when the planchet is not properly aligned between the obverse and reverse dies during striking, resulting in a portion of the coin being blank while the remaining area displays the design. And while small off-center strikes are moderately valuable, extreme strikes in which a substantial portion of the design is still visible, including the date, mint mark, and major design elements, are exceptionally rare and can significantly increase a coin's market value, particularly when combined with other errors such as dramatic double dies, which is one of the reasons why certain 2020 pennies are considered worth millions of dollars. And then there are planchet errors, including wrong planchet strikes where a penny is accidentally struck on a blank intended for another denomination such as a dime or nickel, incomplete or clipped planchets, lamination flaws in which the metal layers separate, or contamination in the metal mix, all of which produce coins with unusual thickness, weight, color, or texture. And when these planchet anomalies occur alongside other major errors such as double dies or off-center strikes, the coin becomes virtually unique, highly collectible, and extremely valuable. And transitional errors also contribute to the story, occurring when a die from a previous or subsequent year is mistakenly used, resulting in a coin that was never intended to exist but survives as a rare anomaly. And in the case of a 2020 penny, a transitional error could involve an obverse or reverse die from 2019 or 2021, creating a coin that is visually distinct and historically interesting. And when combined with double dies, off-center strikes, or planchet defects, these transitional anomalies further elevate the coin's rarity and desirability among advanced collectors who prize one-of-a-kind specimens, because uniqueness is one of the most powerful drivers of value in numismatics, and condition plays a crucial role as well, because even a coin with a rare error can see its value dramatically affected by its state of preservation. And a 2020 penny preserved in pristine mint state, with full original luster, no scratches, no discoloration, and intact design elements, will command exponentially higher prices than a circulated or damaged example, and when authenticated and graded by a leading professional grading service, the confidence this provides to buyers can drive auction prices into the multi-million-dollar range, explaining how a 2020 penny could achieve a $14 million valuation. Die cracks, die chips, and cuds are another fascinating source of extreme value, occurring when a die begins to fracture, producing raised lines, raised areas, or missing sections on the struck coin. And while minor die cracks are relatively common, large, bold, and visually dramatic cracks intersecting critical design elements such as Lincoln's profile, the date, or lettering significantly enhance the coin's rarity and collector appeal, especially when combined with other errors, and a 2020 penny with dramatic die cracks and additional anomalies would be considered one of the most desirable modern coins. Mule errors, an extremely rare category, occur when the obverse of one denomination is paired with the reverse of another denomination, a combination that should be impossible under normal minting operations, and such coins are among the rarest and most valuable in the world, often fetching record-breaking prices because they represent a fundamental minting anomaly, and the possibility of a 2021 cent mule, particularly combined with doubled dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, or planchet defects, creates a coin of unparalleled rarity and value. Missing design elements caused by overpolished or overprepared dies also contribute to rarity, as parts of the design, including Lincoln's features, lettering, or shield details, may be partially or entirely absent, and when these missing elements coincide with other major errors and the coin is preserved in perfect condition, the resulting specimen becomes visually unique and highly prized. Provenance, or documented history of the coin, plays a critical role in valuation, because a coin with a verified origin, such as from an unopened mint roll, a notable estate collection, or a high-profile discovery, commands higher prices than a similar coin without documentation, and the 2020 penny's reported valuation of $14 million can be heavily influenced by exceptional provenance combined with multiple rare errors, pristine condition, and collector demand. Collector psychology, market dynamics, and competitive bidding drive extreme value as well, because coins rumored or verified to be unique or one-of-a-kind generate intense interest among high-net-worth collectors, investors, and institutions, and the anticipation of owning a coin with multiple rare characteristics elevates its market price far beyond standard valuation metrics. Modern material composition of the 2020 penny, particularly copper-plated zinc, introduces factors including susceptibility to lamination flaws, surface irregularities, and unusual toning, which when combined with other errors create coins that are visually distinct, historically relevant, and highly desirable. Compounded errors, such as a 2020 penny exhibiting a doubled die, off-center strike, lamination flaw, die crack, missing design elements, and perfect mint state preservation, represent once-in-a-generation specimens highly prized for uniqueness, visual appeal, historical significance, and investment potential, explaining valuations reaching into the tens of millions. Market factors including scarcity, demand, media attention, and the growth of global interest in rare coins elevate prices further, as collectors compete aggressively in auctions, driving the value of exceptional 2020 pennies higher. The combination of rarity, condition, provenance, historical significance, collector psychology, compounded errors, grading, and market dynamics collectively transforms a simple 2020 penny into a numismatic marvel valued at $14 million, inspiring collectors to examine every coin, scrutinize every detail, and appreciate the fascinating history embedded in these tiny pieces of metal. And as we conclude our exploration of the 2021 cent, its errors, mistakes, possibilities, and astonishing value, it becomes clear that ordinary coins can, under the perfect convergence of anomalies, preservation, and demand, achieve legendary status and life-changing value. So if you enjoyed this journey into the world of rare coins, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel. Last. Today we are diving deep into the story of the 2003 1-cent coin, a coin that might look like an ordinary penny to the casual observer but which has captivated the attention of collectors, investors, and numismatists alike due to a remarkable combination of errors, mistakes, minting anomalies, and rare possibilities that have propelled certain examples to an astounding valuation of $9 million, a figure that transforms a coin worth 1 cent into a life-changing discovery for anyone fortunate enough to find one. And as always, we begin by welcoming all of you to this channel because if you are fascinated by rare coins, minting mistakes, and the incredible potential for ordinary coins to become extraordinary collectibles, then you are in exactly the right place, because the 2003 penny is a prime example of how errors, anomalies, rarity, condition, provenance, and collector psychology can converge to create a coin of immense value, and in today's deep dive, we will examine every conceivable factor that contributes to the extreme valuation of the 2003 1 cent, including double die errors, off-center strikes, planchet defects, transitional errors, die cracks, missing design elements, mule possibilities, grading, market dynamics, psychological factors, and more. Because understanding the full story requires an in-depth look at how what seems like an ordinary coin can transform into a numismatic treasure, and we begin with double die errors, which are among the most celebrated and collectible mistakes in coin history, occurring when a die receives multiple impressions from the hub in misaligned positions, producing visible doubling on key design elements such as the date, mint mark, lettering, or Lincoln's portrait, and while minor or machine doubling is relatively common and often overlooked, bold, dramatic, and perfectly separated double dies are extremely rare and highly sought after, and in the case of the 2003 1 cent, certain examples reportedly exhibit significant doubling on either the obverse or reverse, making them visually striking, historically significant, and highly desirable, contributing substantially to the reported $9 million valuation. But double dies are only the beginning of the story, because off-center strikes represent another major category of high-value errors, occurring when the planchet is not properly aligned between the obverse and reverse dies during striking, resulting in part of the coin being blank while the remaining area displays the design. And while small off-center strikes are moderately valuable, extreme strikes in which a substantial portion of the design remains visible, including the date, mint mark, and major design elements, are exceptionally rare and can significantly increase a coin's market value, particularly when combined with other errors such as a dramatic double die, which is one of the reasons why certain 2003 pennies are considered worth millions. And then there are planchet errors, including wrong planchet strikes in which a penny is accidentally struck on a blank intended for a dime or nickel, incomplete or clipped planchets, lamination flaws in which the metal layers separate, or contamination in the metal mix, all of which produce coins with unusual thickness, weight, color, or texture. And when these planchet anomalies occur alongside other major errors such as double dies or off-center strikes, the coin becomes virtually unique, highly collectible, and extremely valuable. And transitional errors also play a role in understanding the 2003 penny's rarity, occurring when a die from a previous or subsequent year is mistakenly used, resulting in a coin that was never intended to exist but survives as a rare anomaly. And for a 2003 penny, a transitional error could involve an obverse or reverse die from 2002 or 2004, creating a coin that is visually distinct and historically interesting. And when combined with double dies, off-center strikes, or planchet defects, these transitional anomalies further elevate the coin's rarity and desirability among advanced collectors who prize one-of-a-kind specimens, because uniqueness is one of the most powerful drivers of value in numismatics. Condition is absolutely critical as well, because even a coin with a rare error will see its value dramatically affected by its state of preservation. And a 2003 penny preserved in pristine mint state, with full original luster, no scratches, no discoloration, and perfectly intact design elements, will command exponentially higher prices than a circulated or damaged example, and when authenticated and graded by a leading professional grading service, the confidence this provides to buyers can drive auction prices into the millions, explaining how a 2003 penny could achieve a $9 million valuation. Die cracks, die chips, and cuds are another source of extreme value, occurring when a die begins to fracture, producing raised lines, raised areas, or missing sections on the struck coin. And while minor die cracks are relatively common, large, bold, and visually dramatic cracks intersecting critical design elements such as Lincoln's profile, the date, or lettering significantly enhance the coin's rarity and collector appeal, especially when combined with other errors, and a 2003 penny with dramatic die cracks and additional anomalies would be considered one of the most desirable modern coins. Mule errors, an extremely rare category, occur when the obverse of one denomination is paired with the reverse of another denomination, a combination that should be impossible under normal minting operations, and such coins are among the rarest and most valuable in the world, often fetching record-breaking prices because they represent a fundamental minting anomaly, and the possibility of a 2003 1-cent mule, particularly combined with doubled dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, or planchet defects, creates a coin of unparalleled rarity and value. Missing design elements caused by overpolished or overprepared dies also contribute to rarity, as parts of the design, including Lincoln's features, lettering, or shield details, may be partially or entirely absent, and when these missing elements coincide with other major errors and the coin is preserved in perfect condition, the resulting specimen becomes visually unique and highly prized. Provenance, or documented history of the coin, plays a critical role in valuation, because a coin with a verified origin, such as from an unopened mint roll, a notable estate collection, or a high-profile discovery, commands higher prices than a similar coin without documentation, and the 2003 penny's reported valuation of $9 million can be heavily influenced by exceptional provenance combined with multiple rare errors, pristine condition, and collector demand. Collector psychology, market dynamics, and competitive bidding drive extreme value as well, because coins rumored or verified to be unique or one-of-a-kind generate intense interest among high-net-worth collectors, investors, and institutions, and the anticipation of owning a coin with multiple rare characteristics elevates its market price far beyond standard valuation metrics. Modern material composition of the 2003 penny, particularly copper-plated zinc, introduces factors including susceptibility to lamination flaws, surface irregularities, and unusual toning, which when combined with other errors create coins that are visually distinct, historically relevant, and highly desirable. Compounded errors, such as a 2003 penny exhibiting a double die, off-center strike, lamination flaw, die crack, missing design elements, and perfect mint state preservation, represent once-in-a-generation specimens highly prized for uniqueness, visual appeal, historical significance, and investment potential, explaining valuations reaching into the multi-million-dollar range. Market factors including scarcity, demand, media attention, and the growth of global interest in rare coins elevate prices further, as collectors compete aggressively in auctions, driving the value of exceptional 2003 pennies higher. The combination of rarity, condition, provenance, historical significance, collector psychology, compounded errors, grading, and market dynamics collectively transforms a simple 2003 penny into a numismatic marvel valued at $9 million, inspiring collectors to examine every coin, scrutinize every detail, and appreciate the fascinating history embedded in these tiny pieces of metal. And as we conclude our extensive exploration of the 2003 1 cent